Welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real with Hayley and Leanne. And today's episode is discussing our experiences with parenting with COVID in these times, this era, and trying to homeschool and really talk about how it impacts us and how that is for me and Hayley, and obviously participants and clients and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, before I go waffling on, I'm going to pass you over to Hayley, who's going to kick off today's podcast. Hayley.
Okay, so this one has been this lockdown compared to the other one. I find it's been more exhausting. So I'm going to go into my experiences, and then I'm going to bring in some of my clients because they've really helped me actually with a shared experience. So I'm going to start with comparison because that's quite a big one, and I know you've got some stuff on comparison too. But yeah, so my experience of comparison, I'm not there anymore, but I used to be. So I'm going to go where I used to be. So last lockdown, with the comparison, I would see people have this regimented day. We're starting at 9 and we're finishing at this time. We're stopping for lunch and then we're going for long walks and then we're coming back. And I was like, oh my God, we're starting at sometimes 10, 12, 1, 2. What's going on? And then I see on the famous Facebook, all this stuff people were making, their lockdown baking for, I think there was this thing you could bake with mold, lockdown 2020. So what did I do? We went out and we went and got all the baking stuff and it was a mess. And I remember looking at it thinking, no. And that was the moment I thought, what are you doing? You're in this story of this same story you're repeating of I should be doing this because after this all happens, I want this memory. And I thought, well, actually, do you know, I'd like a memory. So do you know what I did? I went onto eBay and got a frame like that says our memories of COVID lockdown. And it had all our names on it. And I was like, yeah, that's done. That's like £5 done. I ain't got to do all this baking. And yeah, and it was just, you know, I felt this bit of relief. And then I started to get into this, you're in comparison. And this comparison is very draining. It's exhausting. And when you're in that comparison, you get lost in it. And it goes more and more where you are comparing yourself obviously as a parent, well, back there it was a partner, but I'm going to stick with the kids. So with the regimented time, this was you know, like I said, you start at 9 and then you finish at 3 and go for these long walks. And I was like, my kids don't even want to go out. They're so, you know, they just want to go in the garden because, and this time it's horrible weather. They're like, I ain't getting my kids out. I'll get Josh around the block. And that's at a push because he's like loving home time. And I'm like, oh, there's something wrong. But basically what I figured out is I'm doing the best I can. And if I start at 10 and we do 2 lives or 1 live a day, because I weren't doing that first of all. When I first started, I weren't doing no lives. And now we're doing 1 live. Sometimes we don't do none a day. And that's okay. She's doing her work. And we stick to about 2.5 hours a day now. We started off with 2 hours. Now we're doing 2.5 because otherwise she was upset and her mental health was going to be affected by it. So I thought, you know, she's doing enough. She's doing the basics, math, science and English. She's bringing some of the other subjects in. And I thought, I'm not doing it to her. I'm not, because, you know, it's not just parents that are struggling, it's kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the parents, kids are, you know, I had tears the other day, which was like, I just don't understand it. So I was sitting there with this maths homework. And what was it? It was expanding brackets. And I was like, I've got like an F in maths. How am I going to do this? You know, so I was sitting there for over an hour trying to work this out, and I finally got it. I was like, woo! I finally got it, but then trying to explain it to a child, a resistant child as well. So in the end, I thought, you know what, let's leave it today. Let's leave it today, and we'll do it next week, and that's okay, you know, because and this is what I'm finding is you've got, you know, do what you know what's right for you, do it your way. We have not been trained as teachers. We've not been prepared to homeschool. It wasn't our choice. We didn't say, right, I'm going to start homeschooling my kids, so I'm going to get all prepared. Yeah, that didn't happen. It was like an overnight thing. Kids ain't going back to school. You now got to be teachers, basically. And you've got some kids that would just go upstairs and do it all by themselves. But you've got some kids that don't. Like Megan, she needs that guidance. She needs that help. She's looking at the overdue stuff and she's feeling overwhelmed. So I'm sitting there thinking, right, let me do this, you know, let me write down what we can do today. Maybe we just do 2 subjects. You know, maybe that's all we'll do today, and that's okay. Because they're going to be behind. Let's be honest. They're all going to be behind. This era, like this whole era, the kids are going to be behind. It's like a surrender thing. It's going to happen because they're not being in school. You know, they're going to be behind socially, with their work. It's just not all kids are not going to be behind, but you know, a lot of kids are. And sometimes you've got parents that are working, have not got the time to help their kids. Yeah, we're both working parents. I'm working in the evening. You're trying to, you know, go in between. So it's, you know, it's just one thing I've learned with this is just do it your way. Just do it your way. Comparison is just a story replay. It's, you know, it's our expectation as a parent, we should be like this. And that expectation leads to what? Guilt, resistance, it leads to depression, anxiety. It's just not worth it. It's let go. So how I let go was surrendering. Just surrender to, I'm doing the best I can. That's enough. But I had to remind myself this in the first couple of months. And even on Friday, Leanne, I had to remind myself it's okay. Because I look at her overdue stuff and I feel this overwhelm come rushing up.
Yeah.
She's got 17 overdue. And I was like, well, last lockdown, she had like 50 overdue. We're getting better.
There's improvement.
It's improvement. You know, Megan, like, God bless her, she's not bothered about the overdue. She's letting me take that on, actually. And I'm okay with that. She's like, so my anxiety, because I'm a very much like a tick box person, I like to get things done. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. It's too much. We're not doing 5 hours. We're not doing that. We, you know, sometimes we might, like I said, we might start at 10 a.m. Sometimes we might start at 12. I'm doing Josh's work as well. This is the thing, when parents have got a couple of kids at home on different levels and they're working and they're single parents as well. You know, there's a lot, and you know, like, you know, parents,
I just felt that. Did you see that?
Yeah, because you're a single, you know what it's like, you know. And it's, you know, I read an article the other day, the amount of parents that are having breakdowns, and I felt this like this sadness in me, like thinking, do you know, it's not worth it. When we really look at what's happening, we really surrender and say, do you know what, I'm doing the best I can with what I know, and I'm going to trust that I'm going to trust in my own child here, that this is their path, this is their journey. It becomes so much easier. But that has been a flip and fluff of mine. I've been in the story, in it, then I've been out. Yeah. So I'm going to stop for now, because I feel like I don't want to overload the audience.
That's okay.
Or myself. So
reliving
remembering
the whole thing.
Yeah. But
no, it's interesting what you're saying about being in it and out of it. That's what we do all the time with power of thought. We're in it and then we're not. We're in it and then we're not. It's like when you're in it, then there's something else for you to learn, and then you're out of it again.
Yes.
Because you've surrendered. So it's like the flip. It's like the in out all the time. Generally in life, but in this scenario, just want to a few things on comparison. It's Facebook, Instagram, any social media platform. There are obviously some negative stuff on there, loads of it, and there's positive as well. But it's not only that, it's like the schools platform, like newsletters, assemblies, when you're seeing this like names of so and so has got an award for commitment, so and so has got an award for positive attitude, blah 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 blah, and then without you realizing, it's deflective, and then you reflect it on yourself. So how are these kids managing? How are these parents like coping with, getting them to sit at a PC for 5 lessons? So I'll come back to that in a minute because I just want to get the comparisons things over. This just reminds me of something. So for me, in my experience of all of this, I work from home. I'm a single parent, and for example, this week has been I don't want to use the word stressful. I don't want to bring a negative into it, but it's been intense. Me and Kim, as you know, we run a domestic abuse mental health group and do a program. So we've been doing funding this week. So this is unpaid work, and we've done 4.5 days of intense funding application and working out. And that's not really our forte. So it's concentration. So there was that going on in my reality. And then there's my son's reality. He's in year 11, GCSE year. GCSEs are on, GCSEs are off, but they're going to do their PPEs, the personal performance exams, in May. But then they're going to be judged on all their year's work. So that's it. That's their grade for GCSE. So fair enough. They're just government and whoever. I don't mean to be flippant. There that did come across a little bit like whatever.
Whatever.
Apologies. So the pressure. So with comparison comes pressure.
Yes.
So in my experience, it's like I'm on my screen, I'm working, and he's on his screen working, and it's been a little bit challenging because his mental health has been affected. He's like, I'll bless on myself here. I was just about to feel, am I being disloyal in talking about his struggle? But no, it can help people, his children. Actually, he's a SEND child, so he has to have special educational needs because he's dyslexic, and he does amazing. He does amazing, but he has more learning support assistant work to do. He has help in the school and stuff. And my son is so sociable. It's extremely sociable. His friend, that's the only reason why he goes to school, is because he sees his friends.
Yeah.
And he's blessed with that. He's got a good friendship group. So I've really felt for him, and he can be quite inward and get on with the work. And I go in and I'm like, are you on? Like, treading carefully on eggshells.
Yeah.
Are you logged on? And he's just like that. I haven't got a class till. And I'm like, I'm a bit intense because of what work I've been doing.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of a release and an explosion of, and actually he didn't even realise how, one, he was talking to me, because the stress and the pressure of getting on this laptop for 5 hours, up to 5 hours a day, it's just too overwhelming for him. So I kind of just saw what the advice I was giving participants on the group, because we've got a lot of lots of single parent families with 1 or 2 children. Some work, some don't work. We've got participants that are with partners, but both partners work, and they're having to homeschool. There's so many different case scenarios. So I'm listening to some that are just knocking it out the park, and their children are doing the work and they love studying. We've got some that are pulling their hair out. And I was just like, do you know what? All you can do is, we are parents. We are not trained teachers in a specific field. We are doing the best we can in a day, and our best is good enough. So it's maintaining being a parent and don't go into teacher mode. And we know our children. We know them. You know, so the schools are getting pressure from government to produce all this work, and the educational board and all the rest of it. And then it impacts the home life. So I was saying to my participants, please don't compare yourself to others and how they're getting on. You know, so-and-so is getting on really well. She's managing to, you know, do lessons in the morning, bake a cake at lunchtime, and then finish school, and then they all go for a bike ride.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I need to meet her. She sounds like she's got her head on, because my reality is nothing like that.
Yeah. And she probably doesn't work. She probably does. Yeah, she might work.
And it's her name, Mary Poppins. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
So I was really like listening to what they were saying, and I was like, you can only do your very best. As soon as you compare yourself to somebody or see something and think, if that works for them, then great. But try it by all means. But if it doesn't work, let it go. Just let it go. If it's not working, do something that does, and inform the school of your struggle. They don't know. They don't know what's going on in your home unless you pick up the phone and speak to somebody. They're in the school, they are still working, so there's still the pastoral wellbeing teams, there's still receptionists answering the phone. Bless them. I love the office. They're great at Marley School, Belfast Academy. They're really, really lovely ladies, and they really do care. So as soon as I made that call and actually said things aren't being so great, the feedback I got of that they really know my son and they're aware of his struggles, and he is doing the work, maybe not submitting as much as he should, but it made me feel so like, I'm struggling, I need some help with this, I need you to let you know what's going on in our world, so then maybe you can help me. So it was just like that. I'm not this all doing, all being mother, teacher, perfect, keeping the home tidy, doing all the ironing, the washing, and everything else I have to do in a day. And I'm not going to try to be either. I really let myself off and took the pressure off, because I remember going into the bedroom one day and just saying, like, going in with my energy and impact, going, it's 8 o'clock, you've got to be logged on at 8:30, and that's how I woke him up. Because I was stressing about him logging on.
Yeah.
And so I impacted him with that. And he was like, what? You just woke up? And make him right. That wasn't particularly nice. And it was like, because I was like, I've got to be online by 9, and I just put all my stuff on my beautiful son, who's 16, who's really struggling with the social life, and sitting in front of a screen for 5 hours when it is noted by public health that it's not advisable to put your child on screen work for more than 2 hours a day. So you think, okay, so they can have a bit of tablet time, Xbox time for 2 hours a day, because that's that they like to do. But now we're putting our children on a device for 4 to 5 hours a day, and then they're going to want to go on their own devices after that. So we're stimulating our children's minds quite a lot by looking at a screen, which isn't actually that healthy. That's why obviously their hour lessons come off to 15 minutes, whatever. But we've just got to remember, the schools are doing the best they can. We're doing the very best we can. We are the best versions of ourselves today, because that's where we are in today. Try not to go forward 100 miles an hour into the future that actually we don't know anything about yet because we're not there, and just try and stay really present and listen to our kids. And if you're struggling, phone the school. It was really helpful this week because I was listening to all these people succeeding, listening to all these people that are struggling, and I found myself doing that comparison. And all it did was put pressure on me. So I kind of just surrendered to that and just let myself off and just thought, I'm not doing it anymore. Just no. It's about the balance and the well-being. It being, oh, if I could speak, hang on, get my teeth back in. It's about the balance and well-being in your homestead. Home is where we are, is our sanctuary. It's where we feel safe. Our children feel safe. Yeah. That is the most important thing as parents, to provide for our children. So for me, it's all about the balance. And you know, if the due work is clocking up, so what? You know, just do what you can when you can.
Yeah.
And I've really got so much empathy for the teachers that are having to manage classes on iTeams or Zoom or whatever. You know, I've got a lot of empathy for a lot of people, but working from home and trying to really keep an eye on your kids homeschooling. I have had my moments, especially being GCSE year, but comparing myself to others really is not healthy.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you with that one, Heidi.
Yeah. So when you was with the phone in the school, I've done the same thing on both lockdowns. I said to them, she can't go on all lives. This is, you know, the last lockdown compared to this one, you know, she's a lot more healthier in her mind. Yeah, she's getting she's getting upset, but I think that's because I've been putting the pressure on. Like, you know, like when you walked into but I've done it. Oh my God, it's 10 o'clock. We should have, you know, you're not even awake yet. And then she'll go, I'm awake. And I'll go back up there half an hour later and she's back to sleep. I'm like, you've got to wake up. We can't start later because you've got live. And she's like this, looking at me like half asleep. What's going on? But you know what? Give yourself a break if you do that to your kids. You know, give yourself a break. You know, all I do is hold my hands up and say, Megan, I'm sorry. Do you know, it's not even the schoolwork for me. It's the knowing I've got to work in the evenings. That's what's coming up for me. It's not even about this so much. If I knew, and this is for me, if I knew I had the evenings off, I think I could surrender a bit more and go. But, you know, when I'm doing Megan's work, then I'm getting Josh's in between. And bless him, he's doing so well. But, you know, he had 4 the other day. And I was like, nah, he's doing, ain't happening.
How old is Josh?
Josh is 5.
Oh, my God.
And
yeah. And
I could feel the energy from the teachers as if to say, you ain't got to do all this work. I've done his phonics and his maths. You know, that's what we did. And sometimes I'll do his in the morning and Steve will come home and do something else in the evening for him. But that's where I'm like, I feel gratitude where I've got someone. Whereas one of my clients, as soon as she opens her eyes in the morning, she's got a 5-year-old, you know, mummy, I'm hungry, you know, like kids are like at 5. And then she gets up and she does all this and she's working from home. So she's trying to do her work, and then she's trying to play with her child because she feels guilty. And then she's doing more work. Then she's doing her child's schoolwork, and then she finishes at 11 o'clock at night because she feels guilty in case she's not doing enough at work because she knows she has to come off. That's overwhelming.
Yeah. And this is where this is where the mental health. I mean, it goes through the roof anyway this year since March. That's what we're seeing with our participants, clients, isn't it? So it's for me, mental wellness is key here. And that poor woman, I mean, that, you know, that's skating on thin ice, and you know, it's not, that can't continue without something giving, something like, you know. So,
but she wasn't. she wasn't even aware. Like when I pointed it out and I showed her day, she was like, oh my God. She's like, I was like, can you see why you're struggling? She's like, oh my God, that is my day. You know, and, you know, seeing it was, she was able to then think, actually, I'm going to look at how much hours I do because I think, is that word, do? do. I'm going to look at my hours because I think I'm doing more. But the guilt, you know, that the guilt.
Sorry. Oh, we're so mature.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna so guilt. That's one thing I wanted to bring today. So, guilt. The true definition of guilt is intention to cause harm, and I only come across this a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh my God. So when you know when someone hurts you and you go, right, I'm gonna get them back, I'm gonna hurt them back. I don't do that anymore, but when I used to do this, I used to think they've really hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them back somehow. Now that is intention to cause harm. So if you've not got intention to cause harm, look at it. Is it guilt, or is it that you are overwhelmed, or is it you're in comparison? That guilt feeling is it's a overwhelming, and it takes over everything. I should be playing with my kids. Oh, my kids, why don't my kids want to go out? Expectation. It must be me, I'm a bad parent. All this stuff. And then you've got guilt at work. Am I doing enough? Oh, what about if I let them down? And all this comes up, and this comes up in everyday life, but this is more intensified, isn't it? Because this is an experience that we've never experienced before in our lives, and I don't think, hopefully, we won't again. So it's something to actually, learn about yourself in this lockdown and this, this homeschooling. Oh, I've learned so much about myself and my clients as well. Like they're, they're, some of them are aware when they're in comparison. They're like, I know I'm in comparison. I'm letting it go. I can't do it to myself anymore. And there was one other thing. Oh, you're careful. Right. So this is all fear unknown, isn't it? What's happening right now? It's all unknown with, how this is going to, if this impacts my kids, when's it going to stop? What about if they go back and I just get back into a routine again? And I've got to, talk to work about all this again. People that work, people that don't work, it's very much, they've just had that break and then it could happen again. We don't know, do we? We didn't know we was going to do it a second time. Schools were going to close. So self-care is key. And I'm talking about even 2 minutes. The other day, Josh asked me for breakfast. So I did him breakfast. I don't like it. And I have something else. And in my head, I was thinking, right, I've got to prepare their schoolwork. Okay, I'll do him something else. And then he started to gag on this because this breakfast, I don't like it.
What the hell have you given him?
Cereal. It was cereal was not had. So then he, because he's like a fussy eater. And then he went, actually, I want toast, please. So I done him toast. No, actually, I don't like that. I was like, no, I'm not doing no more. I'm hungry. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to have dinner. I'm not going to have breakfast. Irrational.
Yeah.
And I just went, no more, Josh. And I was holding my head and I was like, right, you need 2 minutes. So I said, I literally did an SOS meditation. I just did a 2-minute meditation just to ground me. In this meditation, it was saying this is just a story. You're repeating. I was like, it's not a story, mate. It's real. I was saying, it's not a story. It's real.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All this is going on in this 2-minute meditation. And then something funny happened. I can't remember what happened. I was like, do you know what? This is a story. And then I started to see a bit clearer, and I was like, I'm not doing this today. It doesn't matter what happens today. I'm not doing it today. I'm doing it. We're doing it at this time. It doesn't matter what time or this time or that time. It doesn't matter, because I can feel myself. And it was all, I was thinking about going to work in the evening. That's what it was all coming up. When Josh was up, I was thinking about the school work, working, and all this happens like a fault storm. The cluster storm we talk about. One thought comes in and then it all comes zooming in. So self-care, even 2 minutes away, resets. It does. It resets, and you're able to then, it's first of all, it feels like you're crawling back up. But then I felt reset after I took 2 minutes. And that's all I had to take. So self-care is so important.
It really is. I would recommend more than 2 minutes. That's if you've got time for. Then I'd commend you for doing that. When actually the toast could have been thrown and the cereal. But,
at Josh.
At Josh. Obviously not. But to regulate yourself is imperative, because you're no good to anybody when you're in that mindset. It doesn't matter what class you've got to do or whatever you've got in the evening. This is what we do. There was something you said. I wish I could go back to it, but it pinged something up. I'll stay with this, like regulation. We are always the very best. We're always doing the very best that we can right now. Right now is the only moment that is real. Yep. We can't go back. We can't go forward. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes' time, you don't know what's going to happen. You can't go back to the 5 minutes before. So we're only ever doing the best we can with what we have now. And it's so important to remember that. So this guilt thing that you were talking about, I did have a lot of guilt in things in the past, and what was going on around me, and having a child, and blah 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 blah. So that was the story that was running. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a made up illusion of what I saw as not being good enough, not being a good enough mum. So when I discovered that guilt, for me and my own interpretation of it, is basically pressure and a made up story of stuff that's happened before, that you're not doing good enough. And we are always doing the very best that we can do. We are enough with what we have in this moment.
Yeah.
So if whatever we are saying, we're not good enough parents, I'm not a good enough dad, I've been working all day and I haven't had time to play with my children, I'm not a good enough dad because blah 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 blah. That constant monkey mind chatter is the stories that are rerunning because of other stuff that's happened or whatever. But so guilt for me is just a thought storm of something in the past that is there, and it doesn't. Obviously, if you've got a bad intention and you've done something on purpose, But when what you said about guilt, I liked that little scenario you said. But when your intention is always good and comes from a good place, stuff that happens, even though stuff didn't go too right, you did shout at your children, you did lose your, I was about to swear then, you did lose yourself a little bit and shout and scream. And then, it's happened, it happens all the time, not all the time, but God, where am I going with this? But it's self-forgiveness is what I wanted to get to. I always own when I might lose it a little bit. It's and my son might say to me, "You don't understand me. You're not listening." And I think actually maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not giving him a chance to speak because my own stresses about this situation. So it's always good to go and collect yourself. So if that is for 5 minutes and do SOS or whatever it is that just makes you regulate.
Yes.
Forgive yourself and actually and kind of think, actually, how did I show up there? That wasn't too cool. I don't feel right about that. There's something that in me, my feeling is off. So it's that simple. When your feeling is off, there's something that needs to be regulated. So going back and having a conversation, these times, even though it's looked at as really bad and struggling and all this language that's projected through our TVs and on our phones and everything, this is an opportunity to really connect with our kids. This is an opportunity not to put too much pressure on them, and And it's those, even though you might not be making the greatest banana bread loaf or going for really beautiful nature walks with your children, all laughing and kicking leaves, and the movie.
Yeah, the movie one.
Right, yeah. My son doesn't want to be walking along with me. He's like 16.
No.
He'll be like, I'm with my mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lucky if I get to it. I'm blessed to have 20 minutes eating dinner with him of an evening.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it's been looking at what we have got, not what we haven't. Again, I think we've repeat this through a lot of our podcasts. And forgive yourself. We're only human beings. Really, just be kind to ourselves. Take the brakes off. Nothing's going to happen. We're always okay. Nothing's going to happen if they miss, if they log on 10 minutes late. I mean, what I wanted to bring into, sorry, quickly digressing on something else, was one of the emails from the school was like, please encourage your children to log on. If there's an IT problem or sickness, please still phone the absence line and notify us. Otherwise, if you don't, they are going to be noted with an unauthorised absence. And then my mind went to this little mind illusion of seeing not anyone I know, just a woman, single parent or man. It wasn't even like gender specific, but having 3 children of all different ages, having to have 3 laptops. And I just kind of went, wow. So if they don't all log on when they're meant to, what stress? I mean, come on. And like the unauthorised absence, what does it really matter, considering they've had a year out of school and not being taught in a schooling environment? So I was just like, they have to do this. They have to send these letters out so that it encourages. So there is kind of like a consequence for, obviously, parents that go, oh, don't worry about it. You don't need to do it. Because there is that irresponsibility with with people that they're like, I'm not making them do anything. They can do what they like. So there's obviously, because there's a boundary issue there. But I just, give yourself a break. Take the pressure off. Do whatever it is that you need in today, because we as parents are the hub of our home. And if we're stressed, our kids will be stressed.
Yeah.
They pick up that energy, and it has that osmosis, and it feeds through. So I totally admit I have been intense and stressed this week. And guess what? My son's mood hasn't been that great either. With his own things, he's worrying about GCSEs, thinking that he can't do it, thinking that he's going to fail anyway. And I'm just like, he's amazing. He loves his sport. He's creative. He's great. He's a creative kid. So academia isn't his thing, but he's doing what he can. And we really need to be mindful to that. We can only do what we can in a day. And and look at all the things you have done. Don't look at all the things you haven't, because you're going to have a low level of mood if you do that. Well done, Hayley, for bringing that in. Take some time for yourself. That was one of the things I wanted to mention. It's imperative. We need to do this.
Yes, Japanese call it, I think it's Kaizen, one step at a time, and it's really powerful. So imagine, one step at a time. So the ultimate goal is today to get the homework done, but actually, what's the goal right now? Not even goal, one step. So right now, I'm going to have a cup of tea, or a coffee, or a hot chocolate, or a cold drink, whatever it is, milkshake, who knows? But right now, this is my step. So it's one step at a time. You live your life that way. What happens is you naturally, the pressure comes off naturally. It's not even and then you naturally start to build it up, and then life starts to flow. And I use this when I remember, and that's the key, isn't it? We don't always remember because we're in another, realm, should we say, in our program. So when I remember, I'm like, oh, one step at a time, and it always just I feel my shoulders drop.
Sorry, I just spoke over you then. And that is being present. That's the teachings of being present.
Yeah.
This is the objective. It sounds so corporate. What's the agenda? What's the
Get
agenda?
PowerPoint. Let me just load the PowerPoint. One moment.
But what's your outcome? What is one outcome that you want to achieve today? And that's like, in coaching. So, one outcome you want to achieve today, and that could be, I don't know, 2 pieces of work submitted, or 2 questions answered on a funding bid. But that's okay. I'm not going to stand and be. But yeah. So right now, in the present, right now, yeah, I'm going to have a cup of tea, a piece of toast, do something good for myself, and then I'll be better to do something in half an hour's time.
Yeah.
So that is like managing your time as well, isn't it?
That, and that's it, Leanne. That's it. I'm just mindful
of the time
because I've got work. Life don't stop.
Well,
as much as I'd love to do this full time, that's our vision.
You never know, darling. It could happen.
Oh no, it will happen. This is
okay. Any other points you want to? Because I think this is has actually been one of our longest.
No, I think, do you know what? The things I've wrote down: resistance in children. We've spoke about that. That's what I wanted to say. When you've got a resistant child, this is their home. This is not where they do schoolwork, so they're going to be resistant. They're not resistant in some are, but when you've got a resistant child, it's really, really challenging, and that's okay. So your thing about you're doing the best you can is, and it's really true. Look at you. I always check in. What are my intentions right now to help my child have an easier day? But I'm getting stressed. That doesn't match up with my intentions.
No.
Do you know, when I check in, what are my intentions today? And it always, again, it grounds me. And I think, well, actually, what are you doing? You're in the program, you're in that story again. If your intentions today, you're not, your intentions are this, but you're going, oh my God, what the teacher's going to think. I don't want her to get pulled on anything, but, the teachers, like, this is a lot for them as well. It's a lot for everyone. Mums, dads, teachers, children, siblings, younger siblings who don't have to go do work. They're probably looking at their mum thinking, where's my mum gone? She's stressed. But it's just, even Robin recently, when we start the schoolwork, Robin's my dog. when we're going into the schoolwork, she goes, she looks depressed because so animals, everyone's being impacted by this.
Well, they get ignored, don't they?
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be suffering. It really doesn't.
It's balance.
Yeah, balance.
It's it's about keeping a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just be really kind to yourself, please, everybody, and stay safe.
Yes, stay safe.
And just do what you can do. And remember, I was going to say so. We can live. We live in an illusion of whatever it is in that moment. Of should be looking like this. Yes. And actually, but this is actually what's happening. That's an illusion of.
Yeah,
this is real. This is real right now, right this minute. Whoever's listening, this is what's going on for you right now. Not these mind movies and stories that we create in an illusion.
Yeah.
So keeping it real, Hayley.
Yeah. But if I could say one thing, give yourself a break. And do you know what? Be proud of yourself. That's one thing. We don't sit there and go like you said earlier, what we are doing. Don't look at what we're not doing. Wow, I'm working, or I'm not, but I'm a single parent, or I'm not working, but I'm still over. Wow. Give yourself a break.
I've made a really good dinner today. Look at that. The kids are enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. It's healthy. Good for you. Brilliant. Just give yourself a break. Yeah, absolutely. Get out of bed.
You got out of bed. That needs, praise, seriously. So if the biggest thing here is, like you said earlier, with you're doing the best you can, and that's enough.
With what we've got.
And that's
we do the very best with what we got and what we know right now. Yes. And that's all you can ever do.
Definitely.
Being the true our true selves and being the best version of ourselves right now.
Yeah.
And so
everything else is just story.
Everything else is. I just wanted to thank everybody who's listened up until now.
Yes.
Really noticed that we've got more views, stuff. So I really appreciate people tuning in. So keep liking, subscribing, leave comments if there's anything that's come up for you. And yeah, just keeping it real. And we really do thank and feel very blessed that we have an opportunity to share this stuff with you. So thank you very much.
Yes, I'm feeling really grateful for the people that have, supported us, liked or, watched our videos even. Yeah, really grateful. Yeah. So until next time, Leanne.
Yes, until next time.
Okay, well, that's it for me.
And that's it from me. See you later.
You take care.